Where are you going to go, Kyle?
When? What do you mean?
Where are you going to run?
What are you talking about?
Where are you going to hide, Kyle?
I feel like you're doing a bit, but I'm not catching the reference.
There's no one like you left, Kyle.
I'm still not getting the reference.
Body Snatchers.
You mean that movie with Kiefer Sutherland's dad in it?
No, Body Snatchers.
The black and white original?
Body Snatchers.
The one with Nicole Kidman in it?
Body Snatchers, Kyle. The more Freudian one.
I don't think I've seen it.
Body Snatchers.
Body Snatchers.
Body Snatchers.
Body Snatchers.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Transition.
Okay. Welcome back to Jake and Kyle's Spooky Good Time.
I'm Jake.
I'm Kyle. This week, we'll be talking about Body Snatchers.
Body Snatchers.
So, Body Snatchers. Let's give a little synopsis to our viewers at home who might not have seen this.
Give it to me, Kyle.
This is our first film in our Hidden Gems series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hidden Gems.
Yes. So this movie came out in 1993, and nobody talks about it.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it. Not even I talked about it until you told me about it.
Until I told you
I
about
had
it.
no idea about this movie until you made me watch it.
So I want to give a little synopsis. The story is a little different than maybe the more well-known 1978 version and the original. So Marty Malone, a restless teenager, is dragged along by her EPA scientist father to the next army base he's been assigned to investigate. On the way to the base, she's accosted by a soldier who seems to be experiencing a psychotic episode. The soldier issues a cryptic warning. They get you when you sleep, and runs off, leaving Marty shaken and wondering who they might be. Mm-hmm. Body Snatchers is as much a melancholic coming-of-age tale as it is a paranoid mood piece, exploring teenage resentment and the dangers of losing one's identity in service of society.
Yes. I like that. Very good. Well said. Well put together, Kyle.
So tell me, what did you think of Body Snatchers?
I really, really liked this movie. I really enjoyed it. I think the most surprising part for me is that I don't know what I expected out of a fifth remake of the Body Snatchers.
I think this was the second remake.
Second remake. Yeah, there's so many of them now. But I don't know what I expected out of a second remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I didn't expect it to be such a mood piece in, like the entire environment of this entire film. When we first watched it together, you sort of told me this as well, but it feels very dreamlike. The environment, the setting, even some of the audio feels almost like you could be in this teenage girl's dream world, nightmare world.
It feels almost like, and I think that this is supported by the voiceover at the beginning and in the end, that this is almost a recollection of an old memory that she's recalling from her late childhood.
Yeah.
By the way, cheers.
Cheers.
Before we forget, what are we drinking?
We're drinking Elysian. I never know if I'm getting that right. Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. More pumpkin-based beer. I love it. I like that. It's good. This one's really good. This one might be the most balanced one out of the ones we've tried yet from this brand. I really like this one. Night Owl. Couple of Night Owls.
What kind is this?
It's a pumpkin ale. Elysian pumpkin.
Why don't you read the description for us?
All right, yes. I got the description for you for the Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. Their award-winning pumpkin ale, brewed with pumpkin and spiced and conditioning with nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, ginger, and allspice. 6.7% alcohol content by volume.
I knew I tasted nutmeg in there.
Oh, yeah. Unfiltered and may contain sediment. Just how I like it.
Yes. We're both fans of nutmeg in our drink.
I love nutmeg. Nutmeg. Makes everything better.
Yeah.
Every tiki drink ever.
Yep.
A little bit of nutmeg in it makes it even better.
Let's go back to Body Snatchers.
Let's do it.
So it's interesting. This is sort of a blend of a coming of age tale mixed in with this paranoid thriller.
Yeah.
It's something different than we've seen in the other installments of the Body Snatchers franchise.
What I liked about it is actually, I want to credit the cinematographer and the director, because I like that a lot of this film really lingers in like these wide shots, these long one takes that you don't, it's not the type of oneer that we're used to nowadays.
Flashy.
Yeah, flashy, moving through windows, moving through doors, you know, you can kind of get the sense that the director's jerking off to it behind the monitor. It's not like that. It's kind of like a Spielberg oneer, right? Where it's an invisible oneer, right? You don't ever notice it's a oneer. I noticed it just because I love when people do that. And also because I think just nowadays with the way modern films are, I almost expect there to be so many edits, so many cuts. But then this one just kind of lingered on everything. It just really lingered on everything, every chance that it got. And so there's a lot of these scenes that feel like a coming of age film, right? And it could easily be a very stereotypical. I mean, I think even the script, it's not really doing anything new, but I think it was the way it was depicted and the way it was directed was so interesting.
Sure.
Because like I said, a lot of it is done in those wide shots. So you don't really have like these, you don't have a whole lot of close-ups, especially during these scenes.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of them were done in wide shots. It's almost like the camera has this unattached feel, very objective feel. And so it's like if we had gone for like a more closer emotional perspective, these emotions might feel cringy or it might feel overbearing. But anyway, I just liked that it really lingered in the wide. And the way it lingered in the wide, something about it just felt eerie because it always lingered too long. And the bookend, always some sort of weird little detail hinting at something dreadful to come next.
One thing I noticed watching it a second time with you was the desiccated little house gecko.
Oh yeah,
that she finds.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize this because it's just this it's this beautiful shot that you could imagine being in a Terrence Malick film.
Yeah, but
it's foreshadowing what happens. Her stepmom later ends up like that.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers. This is not a spoiler-free talk.
Oh, we forgot to mention that. Again.
We'll remind them every week, but this is a spoiler-inclusive talk. But yes, her stepmother becomes the first person to be
that we see
to be replaced.
Yeah,
which is very fitting for this story, I will say, because her and her little brother, the little brother character, already kind of have an issue with like feeling like an intimate, close relationship with this stepmother because there's this idea of, you know, replacing their real mom.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely a parallel there.
Mm-hmm.
And she already has this sort of tension with that.
Yeah.
It's her stepmom seems like a fine person. You know, it's not like she's an evil stepmom, but there's some tension there. And yeah, that I like that parallel. She's there replacing her mother.
Exactly. And then she ends up being the first person replaced in the family herself. And then is essentially her goal and motivation after that, body snatcher version of her is to replace the whole family, right?
Speaking of these pod people replacements, what did you make of the performances in this film? A lot of people playing more than one character, their original and their evil doppelganger.
I really like the performances. In fact, I might say these are my favorite performances out of any body snatcher film. Although, some of the 1976, I can't remember. Someone will correct me on that.
78, I think 78.
78,
The Kaufman
78,
one.
yeah, whatever that one, which seems to be the most beloved now and the most remembered. I think the performances in this movie are even better. They kind of blew me away in the way that it felt very realistic. I like how the characters learn and take in information, and like, you know, they don't just go from these dumbfounded characters that just get themselves killed quickly because they're stupid. And also they don't just automatically learn everything about this alien being that they wouldn't know anything about. They don't automatically just learn it all in one scene through exposition. It's like you see them watching them. The human characters learn about the body snatchers, and they learn they have to act cold and emotionless and statuesque, like I said. So
I'm always impressed when actors pull that off. It's just fascinating to see somebody embody two different personalities in a way that we're convinced just from a little look or a turn of phrase that they're a different person.
yeah,
And
it's good directing too.
Yeah, definitely. I loved Meg Tilly as the stepmom.
She's amazing.
She was great. When she turns into the pod person, she's so terrifying.
She is.
And the scene when her son Andy comes in and sees his mother wither up,
Gets sucked. Her juices get sucked out
and
of
then
her.
she comes out of the closet naked.
Yes.
How did you feel when you saw that?
First of all, I love that. I love that the shot of her when it like reveals her. I love that the shot of her that reveals her coming out of the closet. You don't see her face at first. The closet door opens and you're only seeing part of her torso, and you see, you know, her exposed breasts and like a little bit of her bush. It's like very uncomfortably sexual the way that she's...
I know. I felt like there was this subtext in that shot that was very pedophilic. You felt like this child was in danger, and I think that it was juxtaposing that with the nudity gave it this sickening subtext.
Yeah, there was a subtext there. Like, it's never discussed or anything.
It's never
like
discussed.
That. It's never a part of like the body snatcher aliens. Like, it's not part of their motivation. But like, just something about it felt really gross. Yes. I mean, even the way they depict the little tentacles going into every orifice of their body as
it's very rapey.
Ugh. Yeah. It gave, you know, actually the only other comp I would say that's captured that sort of like very claustrophobic sexual feeling is probably the original Alien film.
Oh yeah,
the face huggers.
Yeah, that's
probably the only other movie to really this powerfully like make me feel just completely uncomfortable, because it's very it's violating. Feels very violating. So yeah, that scene.
And what did you make of Gabrielle Anwar? That's the protagonist. Marty.
Yeah, I really liked her character, especially because like I said, there's some parts of the script that feel like they're bordering on just cliches, rebellious teen. It like starts off with her very angsty, but then as the story goes on, you learn more about her. You learn more about her situation.
I felt like Anwar's performance, it makes the character much more likable than you would think. She played it really well, and
with a lesser actress, you would get someone who's
moody and obnoxious.
You would get a cliched performance because.
But there was something very soulful about her characterization.
I agree.
That I felt drawn to.
Yeah. I think what it was for me was, yes, she was angsty. Yes, she disagreed with her father. She wasn't like overly rude to her stepmom, though. She didn't blame, even though her stepmom replaced her mom, she didn't blame her mom. She blamed her dad for that.
Yeah.
And she's not rude to her little brother. Yeah, she finds him a little annoying a lot some of the times, but she's very sweet to him, especially when shit hits the fan. She's protecting him. And actually, my favorite moment where I felt like I really liked her was the moment where she's out drinking with the army dude.
Oh, yeah.
And they do the little finger game.
Oh, yeah.
Not that finger game. But
oh, jeez.
The finger game where they're like, oh, never have I ever done this, or like you have to put a finger down if you've done that.
It felt
thing.
very believable.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
felt very. I liked the camera. I just liked that it was almost a POV shot at one another, and it felt very intimate. And what she was sharing about herself, it felt very teenage like, in the sense where, like, as a teenager, you just want to be seen by someone. So it's a very typical game for like a teenager to choose, because it's like sharing information, and you want to be seen by someone. But the way she did it and performed it, and the way it's written and the way it's directed, everything about it felt very respectful, in the sense that it's like she just wants someone to understand her.
She found somebody she's connecting with.
Yeah, she found someone that she's connecting with in that army dude, even if she's underage and he's a little bit older.
Something you mentioned that you liked about this film, the father, played by Terry Kinney.
Terry Kinney.
When his daughter explains what's going on, when he gets over the shock, he listens to her.
Yeah. We don't do this fucking shit, this bullshit in like almost every really bad horror movie, where it's like you have the one character that has all the information and no one else believes them. No, you have characters with varying levels of knowledge and information about the situation, right? And they share with one another, and they listen to one another, and it's interesting because even though this dad wouldn't listen to his daughter about the most basic, emotional things, feeling abandoned, and feeling wrong about having a stepmom now that their mom's gone, and all these things, like, he doesn't listen to her, and he doesn't listen to her about that because he has his own selfish motivations, right? But once it becomes life or death, they listen to one another. All that bullshit goes away.
When the army guys drop her off, he's pissed that they've taken her out drinking. I mean, he's
Still
like
caring,
this responsible,
he's a caring
caring dad. I felt really bad when he died.
I know, because it doesn't really show you him die, right?
Just because you're rooting for the people at the end, I mean, I think that the way that they did it in the film makes sense for that story.
Yeah.
But I just felt bad because I'm like, oh, he's such a good dad.
He's not a bad guy, right? It's like their disagreements are just because they have obviously differing perspectives, and you can empathize with both of them, right? And he's not a bad guy, and he's trying to get his kids out of there, and he's trying to do everything he can to get his kids out of there, and you don't see him get taken by the aliens off screen, but you see his replacement come to get the kids, right? Under the guise of trying to save them, and something feels off, something feels wrong, and you get the sense that he has been replaced.
And that, to me, also connects with what we were saying earlier about it having this dream-like quality, because that, to me, is what would happen in a dream. You have this sense that something's wrong, but you can't say exactly, you can't connect the dots exactly to when that happened.
Also, what I liked about that scene is it showed how smart the body snatcher aliens are.
Yes.
Because I couldn't tell if it was the dad trying to act like an alien.
I love the ambiguity of that.
Yeah,
too.
it's very ambiguous. Like,
I love
he even says like, you can't show emotion.
When I first saw that, I wasn't sure if they killed the dad or not until he started to bubble and stuff.
Like until he started seizing, right? Like the alien sees that.
I love ambiguity. If we ever could Total Recall be considered a horror movie?
I mean,
if the Menu could be a horror movie, why can't Total Recall?
That's your ongoing comment. If the Menu can be a horror movie,
I love ambiguous moments like that. Like in Cronenberg's Crash, when they're reenacting the death of James Dean, and that guy has the car crash, and you're not sure if he's dead or not, or if he's faking it. I just love moments like that in movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one more performance that I'd love to highlight or talk about. One more performance that I'd love to talk about. Forrest Whitaker as Major Collins, the chief medical officer. Yeah. What do you think?
He has such a small role, and it's so impactful because, and this was one of the things that I told you before as well, is that what really sold the film for me was not just how the main characters reacted to the whole invasion aspect, but how even like the side characters and like the more minor characters reacted. His character, I feel like in horror movies, when there's a survival situation, you oftentimes have that character who goes manic and freaks out, but then their manic episode ends up getting other people hurt. I feel like that's done for convenience sometimes to create more conflict. Like, oh, let's just throw this manic character in there who's going to get other characters that the audience likes killed because they're losing their mind and they're becoming reckless. But what I liked is that his manic episode was very understandable. He didn't endanger anyone. He just said, basically, do you want to kill yourself too? He offered to the dad, do you want to kill yourself? Because this is pretty fucked up. I'm going to kill myself. Do you want to kill yourself? Is like basically what he did. And he didn't force it on the dad. When you have these manic characters, they oftentimes make them unnecessary sources of conflict that fucks up everything for them. But he doesn't. He just has this great scene where he's just losing it.
He's one of those actors that when he goes all in on a performance, it's just fun to watch.
For real, dude.
I mean,
for real.
I would say he's chewing the scenery. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's very entertaining and it feels on point with the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because his character, he's the chief medical officer there. So the way he gets involved in this, he approaches Marty's father asking about if there's any psychological effects to the chemicals that he's studying on the base. Because he's been having this influx of soldiers experiencing extreme narcophobia, so fear of sleep. And that's really troubling him because it seemed to be out of nowhere.
This is a horror movie with smart characters. They're all at varying levels of knowledge about the situation.
And they're all
and it's
finding
crazy.
out about it from that narrow focus of their point of view.
Yeah, their character's point of view. And it's interesting how each of them learns more and more about the situation. It's really
father,
realistic, very realistic.
This whole film is about conformity. The general says something along the lines of it's not the individual that matters, it's the species.
Yeah, it's the species.
And going full circle back to Marty, as a teenager looking at adulthood, maybe that's what she sees is people who are bending to fit into society, bending to conform to what the rest of the world expects from you as an adult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, while it's like this family has so much conflict, and it's like not just her family, but she meets the character. Her father's the general of the whole military base.
Played by Christine Elise.
Yes, Christine Elise. So I like that both the main character's family and her family, they're dysfunctional, and so they both just wish they could escape. But at the end of the day, in the context of these body snatcher people, the fucked up dysfunctional family is much preferable than conforming to this idealized perfect society where there's no conflict and everyone's these emotionless drones, you know?
Yes.
Because one detail that I liked about Christine Elise's character, something I liked about her character's smart too. Yeah. Because she starts suspecting her mom, something's wrong with her mom, because she's like, she hasn't drinking alcohol in like several days or something like that.
Right.
Because her mom's an alcoholic, right? She's like, she's only drinking water. This is not like her. Something's off. I like that she notices that.
Yeah.
And that she's smart because she knows like something's off, something's going on with my mom, right? And I really loved that. And I loved that also thematically, that choice, because it's like, what would we rather have? The picture perfect, emotionless drones that have no personality and no flaws?
Or the fun alcoholic.
Or the fun alcoholic. Or the fun alcoholic mom who passes out on the couch way too much, right? Or just like, will you I guess it's like, it's interesting because yes, it's about conformity, but I think it's also about, would you rather take the dysfunction of human beings and accept it as is and try to improve yourselves and your relationships? Or would you rather conform over to this drone-like species where they're all perfect on the outside because they're all acting the same and working together for the survival of one another, but they all are doing it in this sort of soulless way? And I don't think it's a mistake that the whole backdrop of this thing is a military base, right? And it's military people. And
They found the perfect spot to drop them pods.
Seriously, they found the perfect spot, right? A group of people that their whole philosophy is about the community of the military over all else, right?
Yes, over individuality.
Over individuality, exactly.
That's the best way to run it. If you have a bunch of people with their own opinions, you're not going to run an efficient military.
Unfortunately, no. Or an efficient government.
I'd like to talk about the cinematography for a moment.
Please.
The cinematographer, Bohan Bezali. I think that you might have seen a couple movies that he shot.
Tell me, Kyle, what else did he shoot?
Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead. I love Pumpkinhead. We love Pumpkinhead. I love Pumpkinhead. I saw that movie for the first time last year.
I did too.
Really? Last year?
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're late. We're late too.
We are late.
I thought it was going to be...
I thought it was going to be corny.
I thought it was going to be corny.
What the Lance Hendrickson character goes through, there's something emotionally deep about that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, the cinematography...
It's
beautiful, works brilliantly with the practical effects.
Yeah, Bohan knows how to shoot practical effects. That's for sure. That dude knows how to shoot practical effects.
And another classic, horror classic, The Ring.
The Ring, yes.
Probably the best horror remake.
Yeah. Ever?
Maybe one of the best.
Ever? Question mark? Yeah, definitely the best, like...
the best Japanese...
Best American remake.
American remake of a Japanese horror
of
film.
any foreign film or international film. Definitely.
But I don't know when the last time you've seen The Ring was, but I rewatched it recently. It's beautifully shot. The color palette, which I think was kind of unfairly maligned because of a lot of copycats that would put on a filter basically in post. But he did that photochemically and with glass filters, I believe.
It's beautiful.
And the craftsmanship. I love that about this film, in particular, Body Snatchers. Yeah. There's this hard light that's ever present during the daylight scenes on the base that adds this intensity to everything. And the rays of light coming in through the house as she's looking at the house gecko. I think that's what is building this dream-like atmosphere that we both love so much.
If this movie is anything, it's atmosphere. It really is. We talked about all the great character stuff too and the great performances, but even if you were to take those away, the atmosphere alone makes this movie worth watching. This is going to sound like a funny comparison, but it feels a lot like Tarkovsky.
Sorry, I thought that I just wanted to seem like I was engaged. Sorry, no, go ahead, Tarkovsky. Yes.
It feels so. The atmosphere. It sounds like a weird comparison, but it feels a lot like Tarkovsky, like a Tarkovsky film. And let me explain, because it might seem weird to think of like a film like Stalker or Solaris.
I'm reserving judgment.
Okay, so what I mean is like Tarkovsky was so good with like textures, physical textures, and I think that's what this film does really well is physical textures.
Definitely.
And it shoots them, Tarkovsky shoots them in a very beautiful way. And I think this film also does the same where, I mean, there's some shots where it just lingers on the environment and there's no subject, there's no actor in the frame. It's just lingering on the environment or even like on one of those eggs, you know, like the scene where the main character, she's in the bathtub falling asleep and it's starting to suck the juices of the life out of her, right? We get this whole sequence over a minute long of showing the almost birth of this thing in the egg. And it's like,
it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's weird. It's weird how beautiful it is. It made me uncomfortable.
It made me think of the translucent egg in the original Alien.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
where
it's
you
like,
can see it growing and moving.
Exactly. It's weirdly beautiful. And so that's why, so this is where the Tarkovsky comes in, is just that I thought that the textures of it felt similar. They have some weird 4-minute long shot that just goes through the water. It doesn't even have an actor in it. It's just looking at shit in the fucking stream. And it's like, well, what's the point of this? You know,
it's a literal shit.
Yeah, you could say, what's the point of this? But the point of it is that like this texture, the beauty of it feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. And that's the best way I could describe some of the textures in this film, especially when it comes to that egg, that alien egg. It feels both familiar, but it also feels so foreign and like wrong at the same time.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And this is also going to sound stupid, maybe stupider. It had a European feel to it.
No, you're
A
absolutely
European
right.
sensibility. Maybe that was...
That might sound funny, but...
maybe that was Bohan Baizali.
Yeah. It's all the shots of the bush, isn't it? Is that what...
Jake likes full bush.
I like full bush. It's natural.
Yeah.
That's the European part of me.
Yeah.
My full bush.
I mean, he likes to keep his own bush full is what he means.
Maybe I do.
It's like a Brillo pad down there.
Maybe I do. I'm not gonna judge. I like the full bush. If you want clean shaven, you can have it clean shaven. But one of my favorite parts of the movies, full bush. That was my favorite part.
That was his favorite part. That's
That was
what he
my
got
favorite
away.
part, the full
That's
bush.
what we.
If there's any takeaway,
we
watch
just
this
threw
movie for
away
the full
all
bush.
of that insight. All of that insight. We're gonna cut that out.
We can't. We have to keep full bush.
We have to keep that in there.
I bet you
man.
the studio said we need to cut out the full bush. And you know what? You know what Bohan and the director said? They said, no, fuck you. And thank God they kept the full bush. Thank God for the full bush.
Oh man. We're gonna get canceled.
What's wrong with full bush? I don't understand. Oh, he's gonna make a great clip on social media.
Anyway,
Anyway,
you just threw away however many minutes of astute
Film
intellectual analysis.
for full
Just
bush.
threw it away. Now we just sound like a couple of dirty old men. All right. Good night, everybody. That was
That was
it.
the
That
end.
was the end.
That was the end.
So,
Wrap it up,
Jake,
Kyle.
does this film deserve to be seen?
This movie's great. The atmosphere is great. The performances, like I said, so I was surprised how good the performances were. Forrest Whitaker, amazing. Everyone amazing in this film. Go watch this movie. The performances are great. It's got the weird, moody, dreamlike atmosphere.
Beautiful
It's got
cinematography.
Beautiful cinematography. Creepy ass, weird, gross
Great
practical effects.
practical effects.
Great practical effects. So gross and wonderful in every way. What more could you want out of a horror movie?
Well, that's it.
My camera turned off.
We're gonna cut all that stuff out.
No, we can't.
All right. Good night, everybody.